Minister Leonard. Mr Kerr.
Thank you. It was notable that Ben McPherson couldn't answer the intervention from Graham Simpson. He seems to not be able to make a judgment on whether or not it's a good thing that many of our constituents are about to be faced with what Alex Rowley rightly identifies as an SNP tax increase on working people.
Ben McPherson.
I was clear that the policy has made a difference, but we know we're in a situation of public finance restraint. So I'm sure Mr Kerr will tell me where the cut will fall in the Conservative Party proposals on the revenue budget if they were to reinstate this.
That was, of course, the speech that Ben McPherson just gave. Kevin Stewart, who's not in his place, by the way, he might be best to ask the ministers how many of them gave up their ministerial cars to take advantage of this period of reduced price rail travel. But the Cabinet Secretary must accept that this is a cost of travelling by rail crisis of her own making, because only John Swinney has more experience in government than her, so she knows how this works. To govern is to choose. Yep. Nigel Lawson said, yep. To govern is to choose. To appear to be unable to choose is to appear to be unable to govern. Yep. Of course, we've heard the predictable and rather usual grievance agenda from what is now, I think, clearly accepted as an incompetent SNP government, yep. Because Scots across our country can now see straight through all of these excuses. No policy area is exempt. Getting people back on railways was never going to be simply about reducing price, because many other elements go into how people make their travel choices. Yep. But there's no question about it. The unaffordability of rail travel is an issue. It's also a naive assumption that cutting prices will automatically make up for the loss of revenue through increased demand. Indeed. I was involved in business for over 30 years, and one of the first lessons you learn in business is that if you cut your prices, it's very hard to get them up again. That's a reality, because people will exercise their choice. But this is classically how this SNP government governs. They never get to grips with any of the real issues that we're facing, because they're always far too busy trying to find an angle that will give them some political advantage when it comes to the only thing that they exist for, which is, of course, independence. Now, affordability, well, it's a fact. They can all, for all they like, that is the reality of the politics of this Parliament. It's all about independence. Now, the new peak fares about to be foisted on the Scottish people will drive people off the railways and back into cars. And under the new fares, the cost of a return peak journey from Stirling, for example, to Edinburgh will increase by 64.5% from £12.10 to £19.90. Between Perth and Glasgow, the rise is 100% from £20 to £40.10. And from Aberdeen to Inverness goes up 84% from £37.70 to £69.50. And I don't think it helps the government's case. And I know what the Minister is going to say. I know what the Minister is going to say. The Minister is going to say, oh, they should buy an annual ticket or a monthly ticket. But that's not the reality. And by the way, it doesn't help the government's case that they've decided to reduce regularity of services on some of our major routes, because reduced services become less convenient and so less attractive to potential customers. And the suggestion that they're doing this to increase reliability is frankly ridiculous. Rachel Amory of The Scotsman made a video just last week detailing her typical journey from Perth to her offices here in Edinburgh. It took her nearly 2 hours to make that journey, which would have taken just over an hour when Queen Victoria was on the throne. So if the Cabinet Secretary wishes to understand why people who could use the train continue to use cars, I recommend that she watches Rachel's video. And it's worth reminding ourselves, for a whole section of the Scottish public, the opportunity to use any form of public transport is an alternative that is practically non-existent.
Mr Kerr, you'll need to bring your remarks to a close now, please.
And so, to conclude, the government will tell us, in their favourite phrase, they take no lessons from anyone. How true that is, because
Mr.
they
Kerr,
never
you will
learn.
need to